Hello everybody, welcome to the latest video. We're back on the Necron Codex today. The new Necron Codex that Games Workshop very kindly sent over to me. I'm incredibly excited about this one. As most of you will know, I play Necrons, and I have been playing Necrons since like way back in the early 2000s, but since I got back into the hobby in 8th edition, I've been doing really well with them at tournaments, and I'm very, very excited to kind of scroll through and see what we've got in the Necron units. I've already done a video about the detachments. You can go and find that one somewhere. There'll be a link probably in the description, or just go and subscribe to my channel so where you can find it. But we're going to go through all the unit changes today. We're going to go through from the top of the Codex all the way down, and then we'll have a look and see how some of those units might interact with some of the detachments as well, because there are some really, really cool things that you can do, I think. It's definitely going to change the way that Necron lists are written. I don't think they quite have, well, they don't have the same staying powers they used to have in the Index, just unkillable units of Necron Warriors and things. But because hopefully that might be, we might see a little bit of points kind of adjustments because of that, then we might be able to see a bit of a change in playstyle as well. Make them a little bit more exciting. Not that they're not exciting at the moment. I've had a lot of fun playing with unkillable Necron Warrior blobs and even monoliths. Right, so we'll start at the top. The Silent King is the first data sheet in the Codex, and he's had a few little changes. They've sorted out that the menhirs now can't explode, so there's no deadly demise on the menhirs. You can't blow up a menhir and then kind of resurrect it back. That doesn't work anymore. So Silent King is deadly demise D6 plus 3, but it's Szarek only, so it's only his model, it's not his menhirs. His +1 leadership aura is now 6 inches rather than overriding battle shot. So he's got his voice of the Triarch. So the Pharaon of the Stars is, while a friendly Necron unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you reroll a hit roll over 1 and you reroll a wound roll over 1. Pharaon's Blades is a Necron unit within 6 inches, you can reroll charges, and each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, you can have +1 strength. And then the Bringer of Unity is 6 inches. Necron units within 6 inches, you can ignore any or all modifiers to characteristics of models in that unit, or to any roll or test made for that unit, excluding modifiers to saving throws. So that's the voice of the Triarch, and then the Silent King aura is, as I've said, while a friendly Necron unit is within 6, improve the unit's leadership characteristic by 1. So a slight little change there as well. The Pharaon of the Blades has, obviously, it's just had a little bit of a tweak, so it's just re-roll charges, and the other one is that he has to be your warlord, which is fair enough. So yeah, very, very cool. We'll have to see how his points, whether his points go up or down with that. But yeah, toughness 10 and 16 wounds, and 5 wounds on each of the menhirs. He's still properly tough, 4 up Invent as well. So the next one, we've got the new model. Mr. New Model is Imtech the Stormlord. Identical, absolutely identical. I'm going to do a video about building him up. I want to. He's a little bit larger and bulkier of a model than I originally thought, so he's a bit cooler in that when you put him in context with the rest of the army. He is a bit bigger, he does look a bit more like empowering, but yeah, I kind of wished he was a little bit more upgraded, if you like. But as for stats, he's exactly the same. He's got 5 wounds, toughness 5, 6 wounds, 4 up Invuln. Staff of Destroyer is 2 damage in both melee and range. The Gauntlet of Fire ignores cover. It's Torrent Weapon, Strength 5, 1 armor penetration, and damage 1 as well. And then Lord of the Storm, he can call down the storm once per battle. 2 to a 5, he gets D3 mortal wounds, and if you roll a 6, it's D3 plus 3. So exactly the same. Now the other models which aren't in the units, I mentioned it in the other video, unfortunately there is no Anrakai. There's no Anrakai, which is one of my favourite characters, one of my favourite models. I really, really like that model, even though he was fine cast. But yeah, his face, his head was really iconic. I like the fact that he was the one who had the tachyon arrow. Yeah, really, really cool. And then obviously Zandrek and Oberon are not in the Codex either, so they are the 3 data sheets that we have lost. And then the other one, which has kind of slightly changed a little bit, is the Overlord has now been like all crushed up into 1 data sheet. Shazer is the next one down, and he is the first data sheet that you will see that has the movement increase. So there's a massive change in a lot of the movement characteristics in the Codex. There's a load that have just gained 1 inch movement. Some things have gone from 7 to 8, some things have gone from 9 to 10, things like that. Makes it really useful. So Shazer has added that +1 move, so he's now movement 8. The only other change to Shazer is his mechanical augmentation. So rather than his the range, every time he kills something, the range of his mechanical augmentation expands. So now it starts at 3 inches and it can only go up to a maximum of 12. Which is fair enough. Like I didn't really use that very often. I think he's killed something in combat once in all the games that I've used him in. So he didn't particularly like expand his aura that often. But yeah, that's the change on that one. The next one down, Trazyn, is absolutely identical. No change to Trazyn the Infinite. It's cool that he is there. Orican the Diviner, unfortunately, no longer joins Leash Guard, so he now can only join Immortals and Necron Warriors. He can still go into a unit if there's a Royal Warden or a Noble model there, so you can still double up. So that works really well. He still has a 4+ invuln, and he gives a 4+ invuln to the unit as well. And then once per battle, he goes mental and he gets triple attacks and strength and everything. So that's very, very cool. But yeah, new model, really, really nice. If you want to see how I have reposed that, there is a video coming out, and as of watching this, it might be out. But there is a video coming out very, very soon about how I have reposed and just upgraded the new Orican model just a little bit. I like what I've done. I think it looks really, really cool. So we'll go and check that one out. So the Translocation Shroud, the new Overlord with the Translocation Shroud, is the next one up. He's a really cool version of the Overlord, actually. He does still have the Resurrection Orb, so you are gaining the benefit of the Resurrection Orb. And that has changed a little bit now as well. So the Resurrection Orb is once per battle, while the bearer is leading a unit. At the end of any phase, it can resurrect that unit as if it was on the battlefield. When you do, that unit's reanimation protocols are activated, reanimating D6 wounds rather than D3 when doing so. So that it used to be you resurrect in your opponent's command phase. So you're going to get less reanimation from the Resurrection Orb throughout the game, but you can kind of buff and boost the reanimation like once per game. So D6 wounds rather than D3, so it can still be a little bit swingy, but you do have the potential to kind of bring back a few more as well. So that's once per battle as well, at the end of any phase. So if you are doing it in the command phase, you can do the reanimation as normal and then bring back an extra D6 if you're really desperate. But it's one of those ones where it's quite cool to kind of buff up just before something big is going to happen. So there's also a stratagem in one of the detachments where you can resurrect when you've just killed something in the Destroyer Cult detachment, and then there's also one, I think it's in the Canopic detachment, that you can resurrect when you're about to be charged, which is quite cool. So there's some options in there. You can kind of buff the reanimation at any particular time, so it'd be quite good. My Will Be Done is the same. You can use a battle stratagem for 0 CP. And the Translocation Shroud is each time this model's unit advances, it auto advances 6. And in addition, each time a model in the unit makes a normal, advance or fallback move, you can move horizontally through models and terrain features. So you're going to be able to be a little bit more maneuverable with this, because this Overlord still has the Resurrection Orb. I would argue that this is probably the way to go in terms of which Overlord to take. I think he offers a little bit more than the regular Overlord. So the regular Overlord just has the -1 damage for himself. and he still has the My Will Be Done. So it's an interesting one. It's a little bit of a toss-up. I'm quite curious why they have not crushed the Translocation Shroud into the regular Overlord, because if we go to the next data sheet, it is just the regular Overlord with loads of melee and war gear options. So you can have a Staff of Light, you can have a Forge Scythe, you can have a Tachyon Arrow, you can always have a Resurrection Orb, etc, etc, etc. So it's an interesting one. I don't quite know why they've done that, but yeah. So you can have, so Translocation Shroud or the regular Overlord. The regular Overlord is exactly the same. It's -1 damage when you're shooting him, and then you have that Resurrection Orb change as well. The next one down is a Catacomb Command Barge, which is just gained a extra movement. So it's gone from 9 inches to 10 inches. So it's a nice little bit quicker now. Catacomb Command Barge still has the objective control buff, so you're going to have an aura of giving +1 objective control to units within 6 inches, which is really, really cool. And then also you have the advanced quantum shielding, so each time a attack targets this model, if the strength is higher, then you can -1 to the wound roll. So very, very cool. The Resurrection Orb is exactly the same on this one as well. Once per battle at the end of any phase, select 1 Necron Infantry or Necron Mounted unit. So the Catacomb Command Barge can also reanimate Tomb Blades. So you could have the Catacomb Command Barge flying around and just kind of buffing up Tomb Blades a little bit as well. Movement 10, so we can sort of keep up with them, particularly if, as we find out later, Tomb Blades can shoot and scoot, which is really, really cool, fire and fade. But you can also give them a slightly better save characteristic for less movement. So because they can fire and fade, if you give them the better save characteristic, they're a little bit slower, but the Catacomb Command Barge can then kind of keep up and reanimate them if he needs to. So that's just an interesting little change there as well. So he can reanimate the Tomb Blades. The Scoret Lord has also gained a little bit more movement. He is now movement 8 rather than movement 7, and he's also gained an extra wound as well. He's got 7 wounds rather than 6. So he's toughness 7, 7 wounds, 3 up save, 4 up invuln. He's objective control 2 and movement 8. So other than that, he is exactly the same. Hyperface Harvester. I really, really wish that some of the Necron characters had a little bit more combat punch. I do like the fact that the damage has seemed to have gone up with everybody in this edition. So the Hyperface Harvester is still damage 3, but generally I think damage feels like it's gone up a little bit on Necron characters. I always thought I didn't mind Necron characters not having many attacks. I just wanted them to do lots of damage when they did hit. So I'd still like everything. All the characters I think should have an extra damage on most of their melee weapons, but he's only got 4 attacks with the Harvester. Strength 10, -3, 3 damage, and then the Flensing Claw is 8 attacks at strength 6, -1, 1 damage. He's got 2 abilities, so it's the same as he had in the Index. United in Destruction, so while he's leading a unit, they've all got lethal hits, which is great. Stick him in a unit of Scoret Destroyers and they're going straight through. They've got quite a boost in strength now as well, so lethal hits still helps because you've got the high armor penetration and the damage, but yeah, that's always going to help. And then he's got the D3 or D3 plus 3 mortal wounds on the charge, depending on whether you roll a 2 to a 5 or a 6. The Locust Lord also has +1 movement, so it is now movement 8. Kind of hoped he was a little bit quicker. Like in my head, I think a Locust Lord is probably going to be quicker than a Scoret Lord, but like movement 8 rather than movement 7, you can't knock that. It's going to be a good little change. Same with the Locust Destroyers as well. They have gone up. I believe they've gone up. Just see if I can find them quickly. Locust Destroyers, yep, they've gone up as well, so they are movement 8, so they're just an altogether quicker little bundle of damage there. That's the only change to the Locust Lord. He's still got his Lord's Blade and the Staff of Light. You can pick either of those. 4 attacks, strength 8, damage 2, or the Staff of Light is 4 attacks, strength 5, damage 1. And if you put him in a unit, then the whole unit crits on a 5 to hit. And each time this model makes an attack that targets an enemy that is below half strength, you can re-roll the hit roll and you can re-roll the wound roll. So when you are shooting, when he's in a unit, make sure you shoot the Locus Destroyers first, and then you shoot the Locust Lord after, and then he can re-roll everything as well. Not that it's going to make that much difference with 3 shots or 4 attacks, but re-rolling hits and wounds is always going to be good. Resurrection Orb again, that's the change, so once per battle, so he's going to be doing that to the unit, and it's D6 rather than D3, exactly the same as the other ones. The Nano Scarab Amulet gives him a 5-up feel no pain as before. The Royal Warden has probably got the biggest change in all the characters in the Codex so far. He has Engrammatic Logic. Engrammatic Logic is still there, so once per battle he can pick a Necron unit within 12 inches, and that unit is no longer battle shocked, so you have a little bit of leeway if you are failing battle shocks and you don't want to use the stratagem to auto pass, or you've already used it. However, adaptive strategy has changed. This model's unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn it fell back. So the shooting and charging on the unit on the turn it fell back is really useful. He can join Immortals and Necron Warriors. Joining Necron Warriors, it's one of those things, like if your Necron Warriors are shooting, then maybe you're not using them correctly. They should be sitting on objectives and just holding objectives. However, because of the changes in the Codex, we might find Necron Warriors becoming a little bit more of a different role. So charging and shooting on a turn that Necron Warriors have fallen back might be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting with Immortals, because of the fire and fade. Try and get a little bit further with the Chronomancer, get them up in there, move a little bit quicker, try and tag something, and then you can fall back and charge something else if you need to. Fall back, shoot the original target, charge something else. So I can see the Royal Warden going into some units of Immortals and being a little bit more aggressive with those. But other than that, yeah, it's exactly the same. Toughness 5, 4 wounds, no invuln, 3-up save, and he's got the rapid fire 2, strength 5, -1, damage 2 relic Gauze Blaster that's got lethal hits as well. So very, very cool. Technomancer. I hope everybody has a Technomancer. I'm sure you will. Everybody needs lots of Technomancers now. Arguably, you are going to need 3, because I do like the Canopic Court detachment. You can go and see my other video about the Canopic Court detachment. I do like that, and one of the reasons that this guy is going to be very, very cool in that is that he has had a change on the units that he can join. He can now join Immortals, Necron Warriors, and Wraiths. So you can now put a Technomancer in a Wraith unit, and Technomancers still give the unit they are leading a 5+ feel no pain. So Wraiths, I'm going to drop the bomb now. Wraiths have gained 1 inch of movement, so they are now also movement 10, along with the Technomancer. They have gained a wound, so they're up to 4 wounds now, and their whip coils have gone from strength 4 to strength 5. And unfortunately, the particle caster now hits on a 4+ rather than a 2+, but that's beside the point. But you can have a unit of 6 Necron Canopic Wraiths. 4 wounds. Sorry, it's the strength 5 of the whip coils. 4 wounds, so you're going to be having 24 wounds with a 4-up invuln and a 5-up feel no pain, being led by a Technomancer in a Canopic Court unit, which is going to be re-rolling 1s, and it's going to be quite hard to shift. And also, there is an enhancement in the Canopic Court detachment where you can make them infiltrate as well. So you could have a Technomancer with a unit of 6 Wraiths infiltrating 9 inches away from the enemy if you really want to be Alpha Strikey aggressive. Back in 8th edition, I had a very successful army list which kind of based around that, redeploying Wraiths and Leash Guard in the Nihilak dynasty. So they ended up with a 2+ invuln on an objective, being infiltrated using the Deceiver's redeploy. It was a lot of fun. So I can see, we'll get to the Wraith when we get there, but I can see 18 Wraiths in an army being quite cool. The Psychomancer. The Psychomancer has had a few changes. The Nightmare Shroud aura is now in the Battle Shock step of your opponent's command phase. If an enemy unit that is below its starting strength is within 6 inches of this model, that enemy unit must take a Battle Shock test, subtracting 1 from the test when it does so. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through, but arguably it is quite good. Like, why you would particularly want to have this model 6 inches away from an enemy unit in their turn is going to be tricky. But yeah, I think it's probably better than the last aura that it had. And then the Harbinger of Despair, once per turn at the start of your command, movement, shooting, charge or fight phase, you can select one enemy unit within 18. That unit must take a Battle Shock test, subtracting 1 from the test when it does so. So if you really, really want to take out a unit of Terminators and you don't want them to Armour of Contempt, for instance, then once per turn, so you can pick either the charge phase or the shooting phase, whatever you like that. Or do it at the if you've got a couple of them, you can do one in the movement phase, try and Battle Shock it. If it doesn't work, then the Psychomancer can do it in the shooting phase. Although it does say once per turn at the start, so you can just have 2 Psychomancers and do it at the same time. Yeah, so if you really want to stop them having a stratagem played on them, so for Armour of Contempt, for instance, with Terminators, you can do this. -1 Battle Shock, do a Battle Shock test, you are now Battle Shocked and now you can't Armour of Contempt, I'm going to charge in and wipe your unit out. So, could be an interesting one. Psychomancer, I can see you... the Psychomancer is one of those units that is a perfect example at the moment, in my opinion, of most of 10th edition, where everything has a role, and if you want to, you can write a really good army around that role. Or you can at least drop him in to an army with the idea of using that thing. His Abyssal Lance is damage. It's still damage 3. It's strength 6 -3, damage 3. It's still insane. It's still only got 1 attack, but like a damage 3 attack from a Psychomancer is nothing to sniff at. The Chronomancer hasn't had any changes. So he has still got the Time Splinter's Mantle, and he's still got the Chronomatron. So the Time Splinter Mantle is -1 to hit for his unit. So if you are shooting at the unit, that unit is -1 to hit. And then the Chronomatron is the Fire and Fade. So if you have fired in the shooting phase, then you can make a normal move up to 5 inches. It's not a normal move to your maximum, but yeah. So I used the Chronomancer quite a lot in the unit of Immortals. Fire and Fading Immortals are super useful, and yeah, so he's very, very cool. I do like it. He can join Immortals and Necron Warriors still. Perfect. The Plasmancer. The Plasmancer has maxed out, so now we have had a little bit of a change to his mortal wounds. Before you used to roll a dice for every model in the unit you were targeting, and then on a 4+ you would do a mortal wound. Now you are just rolling 4d6, so you're only rolling 4 dice. However, this is quite good for smaller units. So if you're taking a unit of 3, if there's a unit of 3 flying around and you really want to just kind of try and trim them out, then you roll in more dice. So it's beneficial for that. This is going to be one of those models where you can just kind of chip away a few more mortal wounds if there's something left at the end of the shooting phase. It would be quite useful for things like that. And of course, when he is leading a unit on a 5+, that unit is scoring a critical hit as well on the hit roll. 3 attacks at damage 2, strength 7 on his lance in shooting, and then 2 attacks in melee, still strength 7 -3, 2 damage for both. So Plasmancer still really, really strong. I can see him dropping into to quite a few armies and army lists. Right. The change. So the Katan. We have the Katan, Deceiver, Nightbringer, Void Dragon, and the Transcendent. Now they've all had a bit of a change to the movement. They are now all movement 6. They are not movement 7. So they've gone down 1 inch of movement. However, they have all gained Feel No Pain 5+. They've all gained Feel No Pain 5+, which is really, really cool. The Deceiver, I don't know whether the Deceiver had this before, but the Deceiver has Stealth. I haven't noticed. I can't remember whether he had that in the index or not. Forgive me. So they've all gained Feel No Pain 5+. They're all Toughness 11 with 12 wounds. They all have a 4+ invuln. They all have a Feel No Pain of 5+. The Transcendent Katana has a little ability or a little note written down on his data sheet that says this model cannot be given enhancement. So you can no longer give him a Feel No Pain 4+. However, for free now he's getting a Feel No Pain of 5+. That seems very, very good. I don't know how many points these are going to be. We're expecting a points update when this drops, like they did with the Tyranid and the Space Marine Codex. So we'll see what they are. But if you even if they're like 270, 280 points, something like that, for less than 900 points, you could have 3 Transcendent Katana and then the rest of your army. And I just think that sounds really, really cool. The Void Dragon is just obscene. He's really cool. Toughness 11, 12 wounds, 5+ Feel No Pain, and then he's getting wounds back for killing vehicles. It's just, yeah. I want to see the first person to run 6 Catan in an army. It'll be somewhere around 1500 points, 1500 points. Give yourself 500 points of objective control with some warriors and stuff, and just rock 6 Catan. Yes, please, thank you very much. The Transcendent Katana, of course, he isn't going to notice the movement penalty that much, because he still has the transdimensional displacement. So each time this model is selected to advance, you can remove it from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches away. They all have they don't all have Deep Strike. The Transcendent Katana has Deep Strike, so he is going to be so much fun in the Hyperphase Crypt, where he's just bouncing up and down all the time, although he doesn't need to, does he? Because he can just advance and distance. So if you put the put the Transcendent Katana in the Hyperphase Crypt, and then you have the 3 units, 4 if you have the enhancement to take an extra unit bouncing, so you can bounce 4 units up into Deep Strike each turn, or into Strategic Reserve. If you can do the ones that have Deep Strike, the Deep Strike keyword, then you're going to be dropping down with Deep Strike 9 inches away from everybody. And then of course the Transcendent Katana just has to advance, and then he can Deep Strike as well. It's just going to be so much fun. So yeah, I'm really interested to do a Hyperphase detachment army without a monolith, but with at least 2 Transcendent Katans. I do have 2. I need to try and source another one. If anybody has a spare Transcendent Katana, then knock me up. I will happily grab one off you. Right, so Necron Warriors is the first of the real units. Okay, so they used to get a lot of wounds back if they were on an objective. They used to get more wounds back anyway. You could sit Necron Warriors on objectives and they just wouldn't die. I'm not sure that's going to happen anymore. Necron Warriors now, Necron Warriors now, their number is Legion. Their rule is now each time this unit's reanimation protocols activate, you can re-roll the dice to see how many wounds are reanimated. So they're just a little bit more consistent. When you're using the stratagem, they're still going to be getting D3 plus 1 if they are being led. So that you're going to be re-rolling 2 D3 if you roll badly. So you're just less likely to get 3 models back. So you're still going to get a fair few back. If you're using the stratagem, you're probably more likely to get something like 6-7 models back every time you use the strat. And reanimation, you're more likely to get. You're just more likely to get the maximum number. If you put the reanimator in there as well, you're getting an extra D3. So you're just going to be rolling a lot of D3 dice. Yeah, it's all right. I've tried to play it out in my head to see how it would change and how it would affect how they play on the battlefield. Against a good player, I think they are just going to be a lot easier cleared away. Hopefully they're going to get a little bit of a points drop because of this. Games Workshop have a habit of kind of giving us the reanimation tax on all our points, so that there always seem to be like 10% higher points because of the potential of reanimation. But ultimately, if a good player is going to shoot at a unit, he's going to try and kill that unit, and I think Necron Warriors are no longer the you can't kill me unless you are a crisis bomb, a crisis suit bomb or something like that, aggressors, things like that. I think most armies are going to be able to pick up a unit of 20 Necron Warriors now. However, if they're a little bit cheaper and you just have to play them slightly more defensively, you don't have to kind of string them out and push quite as hard, they're still going to do a roll for you. You can still probably push up into one of the no man's land objectives, not the centre maybe, depending on what the terrain layout is, and we might still be able to make use of them, but I don't think they're going to be quite as much of a core unit as they used to be. In terms of oppressive, I don't think they're definitely not going to be as oppressive as they used to be. There's still going to be some play. I'm still going to have I mean, I've got so many Necron Warriors anyway, but I think they're still going to make my list, and I am tempted, if the points do drop, I would imagine the points are going to drop. I can't imagine them making this change and not dropping the points. Whether they go down to 11 or 10 points, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But like 100 points for 10 Necron Warriors that's going to be all right. If they drop down to something like that, that should be all right. And then we can play. Imagine 10 Necron Warriors with a Technomancer in the Hyperphase Crypt, just jumping up and down all the time. That might be quite interesting. Just kind of redeploying and moving them around and almost activation locking the enemy. So yeah, we could see a bit of a Horde Silver Tide coming back. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know what you think about that one. Immortals. So Immortals have finally got 24-inch Tesla back. So they have Tesla Carbine is Assault, Sustained Hits 2, 24 inches, 2 attacks, Strength 5, no armor penetration, and damage 1. And they still get the reroll wounds if you are on an objective, and reroll 1s if you are not. So still very, very cool. But you can't. You can no longer do. You can't do. If you have all Gauls, you have to have all Gauls, and if you have all Tesla, you have to have all Tesla. Whereas the Necron Warriors, you can, if you want to, just put one Gauls Reaper in the unit compared to a Gauls Flayer. I have no idea why you would want to do that. It doesn't do any. It hasn't got any benefit. It's not an assault weapon, so it's not like you can advance and still do still be eligible to shoot or anything like that. So I don't quite know why you'd be able to do one Gauls Reaper or one Gauls Flayer in a unit of Reapers. Right, the Hexmark Destroyer. Hexmark Destroyer has had a little bit of a change. He has had a +1 movement, so he is now movement 8, and he is still a lone operative. He still has Deep Strike. However, the multi-threat eliminator, where he was able to just shoot back, and you could have 2 Necron armies just endlessly shooting back with Hexmark Destroyers, that has changed. So the wording now is once per turn in your opponent's shooting phase, when an enemy unit makes a ranged attack that targets a friendly Necron unit within 3 inches of this model, after that enemy unit has shot, one model with this ability that is within 3 inches of that target can shoot as if it were your shooting phase, but it must target only the enemy unit when doing so, and can only do so if that enemy unit is an eligible target. So it's not like you can shoot out of line of sight or anything like that. It's within 3 inches, so he has to stay a little bit closer, and it's once per turn and one model with this ability. So it's just doing the same thing as the Biovore has done. You're only allowed to do this once. You can't have 3 of them, 3 Hexmark Destroyers standing around a Silent King, just constantly firing back at full efficiency. He is still Ballistic Skill 2. He does still get 6 shots. The pistols do still ignore cover, and 18-inch range, Strength 6, -2 damage. But like I say, he is now movement 8. He is still a lone operative, so he's still going to be useful, just not quite as hang on a second, you've done your shooting phase, now I need to do my entire shooting phase. It's not going to be that kind of interrupty on your opponent's turn. It's good enough. I just don't think you're going to need more than one anymore, which is a shame because I have I've got lots. I've got 3. Right, Leash Guard. So the Leash Guard have the Guardian protocols. So while a noble is leading this unit, each time an attack targets this unit, if the strength characteristic of the attack is greater than the toughness characteristic, subtract 1. So it's no longer just regular flat up -1. It's the if the strength is higher than the toughness, then you are -1 to wound. However, they are toughness 5, so most things most things that are going to be shooting at them which aren't higher strength are going to be wounding them on 5s anyway. So bolters and things used to wound them on 6s, they are now wounding them on 5. So yeah, it might make a bit of a change. The War Scythe has still got devastating wounds at strength 8 -3, 2 damage. The Hyperphase Sword is still strength 6 -2, 1 damage. It's a bit of a shame. I'd love Leash Guard to be a little bit better on their output. For instance, damage 2, damage 3 with the War Scythe would be quite interesting. They're only hitting on 3s, so I don't think they're that oppressive. They just never seem to do the amount of output that you imagine. So I don't think that's going to change particularly. They still have the 4-up invuln if they take the sword and the shield. With Oran no longer being able to join them, I don't think the War Scythe is that enticing anymore. I used to run a unit of 10 War Scythes with Oran in there, so they still have the 4-up invuln, but they got a bit more output. Yeah. Be interesting to see, with all these little kind of tweaks and changes, it will be interesting to see how cheap these get in their points. Triarch Praetorians, however, they have also gained a movement. So they are up to 10 inches for their movement, as opposed to 9 inches. And they still have fly, they're still infantry, so it's still really, really good. They can't have anybody join their unit, so they're still Triarchs. But they do get the Obeisance phalanx, so they do get some buffs from that detachment, which is going to be really, really interesting. And they can still re-roll charges made for this unit, and they can charge when on the turn that they have fallen back. So they are going to be really good for tying up units. They're still toughness 5. They've only got a 3-up save with 2 wounds, and yeah, it could be quite interesting. Particle Caster hitting on 3s with 3 attacks. That's going to be 30 attacks from a unit of 10, and they all have devastating wounds as well. It's only strength 5. Yeah, could be quite an interesting one. Triarch Praetorians. Obviously, they made an appearance in the Warhammer finals as well, the Warhammer World Championships. So one Necron list there that did rather well also had a unit Praetorian. So I think just generally, I think this Codex is really, really good, and I think you'll be able to make use of everything in here. You'll be able to make use of everything in here. You've just got to be very, very clear on what role you want them to do. So the Deathmarks. Deathmarks don't really have any changes, so they are still toughness 5 with 1 wound. The Synaptic Disintegrator is heavy precision, 1 shot, strength 5, -2 and 2 damage. And then their Hyperspace Hunter special rule is once per turn. In the reinforcement step of your opponent's movement phase, when an enemy unit sets up on the battlefield within 18, pew pew pew, these guys can shoot. So yeah, you're going to be able to get some single shots with the sniper rifles from these. So don't. It's one of those. It's almost like a deterrent rule. So if somebody deep strikes within 18 inches, then you're going to be saying, well, by the way, if you do land there, then I'm going to be able to shoot at you with my Deathmarks. So they're just going to either not deploy there or not deploy at all. So it's almost a deterrent. It keeps the lines of fire nice and empty for those. Flayed Ones obviously have their own detachment, which is great. We've got the Annihilation Legion, which is all tagged around Flayed Ones and Destroyers. Flayed Ones are still Infiltrators, they are still Stealth, and they still have the Flesh Hunger, which each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, if the target is below half strength, a successful hit roll scores a crit. Now, interestingly, I thought that was when it made a... Let me just go check that, because I thought in the... index, it was if it was below starting strength, not below half strength, and that was slightly more interesting for me because you could just chip off a model, and then they would just crit everything all the time. Yeah, so here it is. No, it's just below half strength. Okay, cool. I don't really like that rule. Having read that again, I don't particularly like that rule. That's one of the rules that you see in 10th edition, which is like a win more rule. A unit of flayed ones which is going into a unit that's below half strength is going to rinse that unit regardless, because they're going to have so many attacks. They don't need like sustained hits on every single hit. It's just like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to rinse this unit then, rather than, okay, I'm going to rinse this unit. I don't really like that. I wish that was like just use a bit just below starting strength would have been absolutely fine. It would have made them a bit more interesting. Cryptothrals. Okay. Cryptothrals made it onto the thumbnail of this video. Cryptothrals used to be the oppressive 4+ feel no pain for the entire unit, and you would just stack the incoming damage on Cryptothrals until they died, and then take a few extra hits on the unit, and then resurrect the Cryptothrals, and then do it again. That's not going to happen anymore. So the 4+ feel no pain that they had has gone. It has changed to an ability called Bound Creation. While this unit is in the same unit as a Cryptech model, the Cryptech has a Feel No Pain 4+. So they're no longer going to be able to tank the entire unit's hits. Hopefully they're going to get a points decrease for this, because it's still going to be good for the Cryptech. Like a 4+ Feel No Pain ability for the Cryptech is still going to be good, but like 20 points. It's almost like a war gear upgrade, so you end up with a few more wounds in the unit. You end up with a few more wounds in the unit. They have gone up to 3 wounds, which makes a little bit of a help, so you get an extra 6 wounds in the unit when you do take them. But I think they're 60 points at the moment in the current Miniforum field menu. Hopefully they'll get a little bit of a points drop on that. They still have systematic vigor. So each time a Cryptothral model in the unit is destroyed by a melee attack, if that model has not fought, on a 2+, you can fight as normal. So it's a 2+ fight on death for just the Cryptothrals. So all they've done with the Cryptothrals is they've just tightened up the rules for them, really. Made it so that the rules that they had only apply to themselves, or only apply to the character that they were always supposed to apply to, in my opinion anyway. So a 4+ Feel No Pain for the Cryptech, as opposed to a 4+ Feel No Pain for the entire unit. But like I say, they still have a 3-up save, they're still toughness 4, they've still got 3 wounds, so you can still tank a little bit on them, just nothing like as much as you used to be able to. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, like I say, hopefully they'll have a little bit of a points drop. Okay, Tomb Blades. Oh baby, I have like 28 Tomb Blades. I've got plenty of Tomb Blades. I can put lots out on the tabletop. They are going to be very, very interesting. They're still unit size 3 to 6, so I have way too many Tomb Blades to actually be able to field on a battlefield. However, they are movement 12. They still have Scout 9+. However, they're an evasion engrams. In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, it can make a normal move up to 6 inches. And if it does so, it can't charge. So they are now fire and fading. You can move these guys 9 inches, and then in the first turn you can move them another 18 inches. So Scout 9 and then move 18 in the first turn. These guys are going to be quick. They're going to be really, really cool. They do have a lot of war gear options. So the war gear options are, you can give one of them a nebula scope, so you can have them as ignore cover. So you have to give them either ignore cover or stealth. However, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think you can just give one of the models stealth. So you only have to give one of them a shadow loom, and then the rest of them can have ignore cover, and then the shadow loom gives the entire unit stealth, which is cool. Shield veins gives the bearer a save of 3+, but the movement characteristic drops down 4 inches to 8 inches. Now, bearing in mind that you can fire and fade, so that 8 inches then goes up to 14 inches. 14 inches and 18 inches, but 14 inches is still a long way, so it might be worth giving it the entire unit a save of 3+, and just dropping that movement down, knowing that you're going to be firing and fading very regularly as well. So yeah, stealth is going to be really good. I think you will always give the unit stealth. I think stealth is pretty much essential on this one. Ignore covers is going to be useful for things like the Doomsday Blaster, so it's effectively making it armor penetration 2. Everything is strength 5, and the particle beamer is still D6 shots, and it still has blast, which is great. So this was this is one of the ways in the index that I was kind of spamming devastating wounds a little bit. Unit of six Tomb Blades, 6d6 particle beamer shots that have got blast. And then you can, well, you used to be able to use a stratagem on them to get them to re-roll everything if they were in range of the Sovereign Coronal. Obviously you won't be able to do that now, but you can, within range of that, you can make them hit on a 2+, and then roll the devastating wounds after that. So good unit, really, really good unit. I think there'll be a few of those just for move blocking and taking some space on the battlefield. Very, very cool. Scoret Destroyers. Oh. Okay, so Scoret Destroyers have +1 move, so they are now movement 8. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, you can re-roll a 1. If it made a charge, you can re-roll the hit roll instead. Okay, so in the Annihilation Legion, we are re-rolling all charges. In the Annihilation Legion, we are adding 1 to the charge if we're charging something that's a little bit weak. So if you can kind of stack up a charge into multiple units, and one of them is below half strength, then you're going to be +1 to charge, re-rolling charges, and then re-rolling the hit rolls as well. They're hitting on a 3+, so they're pretty much going to be hitting 90% of the time. Scoret hyperphase weapons have 4 attacks, so a unit of 6 of these is going to be having 24 attacks, hitting probably comfortably 20 times at strength 7, -2 and 2 damage. And you do have strats in here to make that strength 8. I'm pretty sure there's Annihilation Legion to make that an extra -1, so you end up with -3, 2 damage. And you can give them a plasma sight as well, so they all of a sudden they get devastating wounds as well. Oh, it's going to be so cool. Yes, very, very good. Scoret Destroyers are actually going to do something in this codex. I think there's probably a list around with 18 Scorpex which you could actually get quite aggressive with. Nice different play style than we are used to so far with Necrons. Obviously used to be playing a little bit more passive and defensive and just kind of scoring mission play, whereas now I think actually tabling opponents and being very, very aggressive and destroying things is well up there in a playstyle. And then the Aidian Destroyers as well. The Aidian Destroyers have also got +1 move, so they are now movement 10 with Deep Strike, and they still get their bounce, so they can bounce as well. Stick this in a hyperphase detachment, and then you're just going to be like removing your entire army and then deep striking it back on again. It's going to be so much fun. Yeah, so 5 attacks at strength 4, -2 and 2 damage as well. And remember, we are re-rolling charges with these guys. And getting +1 if we're charging kind of weaker units as well. So re-rollable 9-inch charges makes them slightly more interesting straight away. You can play them a little bit more aggressively. You can rapid ingress them in as well. Unit of 6 rapid ingress could be quite interesting. And yeah, they still have the plasma sight, so you can give them devastating wounds as well. That's going to be an awful lot of attacks. 30 attacks hitting on a 3. Whew, yeah. Good. Right. The Locus Destroyers have also gained +1 move. There's no other changes to the Locus Destroyers. They are still with the Gauss cannon, so three shots hitting on a 3 at strength 5, -2 and 2 damage. And then the hardwire for destruction is if they are shooting the closest, they can re-roll the hit roll of a 1, and if they target an attack, if they target something that is sitting on an objective marker, then they can re-roll the entire hit roll. So very, very good, really, really impressive, and yeah, should be a good unit, particularly with the Locust Lord in there now as well, within the Annihilation Legion, because you can add some armor penetration to that, so they can all of a sudden become armor penetration 3 as well. And that goes for the Locust Heavy Destroyers as well. Now the Locust Heavy Destroyers, you can make the Enmitic Exterminator now armor penetration 2, which is going to be useful. So at half range, so at 18-inch range, you're going to be getting 12 shots from each Locus Destroyer, strength 6, -2 armor penetration, damage 1, and yeah, that's could be quite cool. That is also heavy, so you are getting the +1 to hit as well from there. Throw that in the Annihilation Legion, it's going to be fun. Going to be fun. So Locust Destroyers, movement 8. Canopic Reanimator. Now the Canopic Reanimator started out the edition with a reanimation aura of adding an additional D3 wounds to your reanimation roll on an aura of 12 inches. And then in probably the first data slate it went down to 6 inches, and now it has gone down unfortunately to 3 inches, which makes sense. I get that, as long as he hasn't gone up in points again, because it's gone down to 3 inches. Maybe he's hopefully possibly dropped in points a little bit. You could maybe run 2 of them. If you ran 2 of them with some Necron Warriors, you're going to have consistent reanimation. So 2 Canopic Reanimators, maybe 40 Necron Warriors. See how that works, or maybe 50 Necron Warriors with a big unit of 20 and some units of 10. Stringing back to the 2 Reanimators could be a possibility. But yeah, he's now movement 8 as well. Still got the Feel No Pain of 4+, and he has the Canopic keyword as well, so he's going to be gaining some little buffs and bonuses for when he does shoot at some point, if he ever does. So yeah, Reanimator. So yeah, 3-inch aura now. Canopic Scarab Swarms. Now the Canopic Scarab Swarms on a 6+, they now the unit now suffers a flat 3 mortal wounds. So this is their self-destruction ability. So the Canopic Scarab Swarms, they've had a little bit of a change, not much really. They're one of the favourite rules that I think has ever been in 40k for me, blowing up the Scarabs for self-destruction. So they've had a little bit of a change on this one. So when you blow up your Scarabs, you still add +1 to result if it's a vehicle. On a roll of a 2 to 5, they get D3 mortal wounds. On a roll of a 6, it's now just flat 3. It's not D3 +3, so it's only flat 3 mortal wounds, which is okay. I'm a bit sad about that, but hey, it's fine. And then the Chittering Swarm has had a slight change as well. So while an enemy unit is within engagement range of this unit, subtract 1 from the objective control characteristic of the models in that unit. However, while this unit is within 6 inches of a friendly Cryptech, you gain 1 objective control for this unit. So they go from objective control 0 to objective control 1. So they can now finally control an objective, which I think is really, really cool. It would have been really interesting to have that, say, friendly Cryptech or Canopic Spider unit. So then they could kind of wander around with a Canopic Spider. But then the Spider can hold objectives anyway. But yeah, I thought that would have been quite an interesting little change as well. But it's just friendly Cryptech units. And speaking of Canopic Spiders, here we have the Canopic Spider. He has had a little bit of a change. The Gloom Prism aura now, so while a friendly Necron unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, models in the unit now have a Feel No Pain of 5+, not 4+, against mortal wounds and psychic attacks. So a little bit of a change there. I did run 2 centipedes with Gloom Prisms at a tournament a while ago, and ran into Thousand Suns and Grey Knights, and the 4+ against mortal wounds aura was very, very useful. I just had 2 centipedes stuck in the middle of my army, protecting pretty much everybody. So yeah, that was fun. So now it's only a 5+ Feel No Pain. He's still movement 5. He's got 6 wounds at toughness 7, but yeah, other than that, he is exactly the same. And yeah, you can have them in units of 2. Yeah, I do like these. I do like them. Hopefully they don't drop, although they don't increase too much in points. Again, they've had a little bit of a change in their abilities, so let's have a points drop to them. And yeah, 5 attacks at strength 8, -2 and 2 damage across one model, and stick them in a unit of 2. Yeah, it's quite cool. It would be quite nice to see if they could do something to a vehicle, but it's fine. So Canopic Wraiths, here we go. So the Wraiths are now movement 10. They are toughness 6 with 4 wounds, a 3-up save and a 4-up invuln. And each time this unit ends a normal move, you can roll one enemy unit it moved over, join that move, and roll 1d6 for every model in this unit. So you're going to be rolling up to 6 dice. If you have a unit of 6 Wraiths, then you're going to be rolling 6 dice. On a 4+, you take a mortal wound. So you're going to be moving over units, doing mortal wounds, then charging back against them and just rinsing them. And remember, you only have to move one model over the unit. So you can like move forward, move back. So if they're really close, move forward, move back, charge something else if you wanted to, anything you like. And yeah, so we're getting Canopic Wraiths with a Technomancer in the Canopic Court detachment, re-rolling charges. Yeah, this is going to be cool. It's going to be fun. The whip coils have now gone up to strength 5 as well, so they're no longer strength 4. So they are going to be rinsing through pretty much anything. Strength 5 is an interesting one because it's making you wound aggressors and things which are a little bit higher toughness, like heavy intercessors. Just giving them a ton of saves to do. It's still no armor penetration, but could be quite cool. So yeah, whip coils at 8 attacks at strength 5. Rinsing through some hordes, and yeah, infiltrating unit of 6 Wraiths in your enemy's face in turn 1. If you want to play aggressive, you can do it. Right, so Triarch Stalker. The Triarch Stalker has had -1 move, so this is one of the ones that has got a little bit slower. He is now down to movement 8, and his heavy gauze cannon is now no longer twin linked. The heavy gauze cannon is now just 6 shots, lethal hits, strength 8 -2 damage. So it used to be 3 shots at twin linked, so now you've lost the reroll wounds and gained some shots. Yeah, okay. I don't think I ever took a Triarch Stalker in the past. I don't think I'm ever going to take a Triarch Stalker in the future, unless he's really cheap. Because he doesn't do anything. He hasn't got any output. The heat ray, focused heat ray, is an 18-inch range, 2 shots, strength 9, -4 and d6 damage, and it's melt of 4. So at 9 inches, less than 9 inches, you're doing d6 plus 4 damage. Maybe. I still don't know why some of these elite units are only hitting on a 3+. The particle shredder does hit on a 2+, and that's got devastating wounds, and it's d6 plus 6. Yeah. I don't know. Heat ray, particle shredder, or heavy gauze cannon. You can only have one of them. It's not like you can kind of take the heat ray and then the gauze cannon as well. You're taking one or the other. Yeah, I still can't particularly see a role for it. Its ability is the targeting relay. That's not changed. In your shooting phase after this model is shot, select an enemy unit hit by one of the attacks, and until the end of the phase it can have the benefit of cover. The unit can't have the benefit of cover, and it does scout 8 inches. I don't know whether that's a change actually. Let's have a quick check. Let's see if I can find the Triarch Stalker in the old index. So he has gained scout, so he now scouts 8 inches. So his move 8, scout 8. Toughness 8 with 12 wounds, maybe. The Canopic Doomstalker, though, Canopic Doomstalker has also gained a movement, so unlike the Stalker which lost a movement, so he is now up to movement 8. Toughness 8 with 12 wounds, he's got a 4-up invuln, and he still overwatches on a 5+. The Doomsday Blaster has still blast, and it's still heavy, so you're going to be hitting on a 3+ if you remain stationary, which is useful. It has d6 plus 1 shots at strength 14, -3, but only 3 damage. It's not like the big 1 billion damage that the Doomsday Arc has. Yeah, still quite cool. The blast is useful. It's quite a nice profile for shooting into some of the elite infantry that you see around. -3 armor penetration is going to take it to their invuln most times, and then the damage 3 is probably going to be killing the unit, killing a model every time a save goes through. Could be quite cool. I can obviously see this one working very well in the Canopic detachment, so re-rolling 1s all the time with this one is going to be very useful. he's pretty much always going to be within your power matrix because he's going to be sat in your deployment zone. So that's always going to be in your power matrix. So you can take the benefit of that. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I hope he's a little bit cheaper. He's still, for me, he still felt like he was a little bit too expensive with the old points. I don't know what he was. Was he 130, 140 points, something like that? Still feels a little bit expensive. Hopefully he'll drop to 120, 115, something like that. But then I suppose strength 14 minus 3/3 damage is quite a bit of output, so maybe he'll be alright. So yeah, I will take 3 of these. Like a Canoptech list, I think would start with 3 of these, 18 Wraiths, 3 Technomancers, a little bit of backfield support with a Spider and some Scarab Swarms, and then you can maybe even drop into Forge World and take some Anachrathites as well, because they have Scout as well, so they're going to be quite interesting for forward pressure. The Annihilation Barge. So the Annihilation Barge also gains +1 move. It is now movement 10 as well. That is the only change that this one has had. The Twin Tesla Destructor on this one was always strength 8 and 2 damage. The Twin Tesla Destructor on the Night side and the Doom side have now gone up to match. So sustained hits 2, twin linked, so you're re-rolling the wounds, but it's only 6 shots, which I think is a little bit disappointing. I really hoped that it would just kind of go up a little bit. 6 shots, yes, it's still going to get some hits with the sustained hits too. But yeah, 6 shots, 8 shots would have been just a nice little buff for this, because it hasn't got any armor penetration. It's not really doing anything. Damage 2, yeah, what are you shooting that needs a damage 2 that also doesn't have any, that doesn't need an armor penetration? So, however, in your shooting phase, each time you select a target for this model's Twin Tesla Destructor, roll a d6 for the target unit and 1d6 for every other unit within 3 inches. And on a 5+, they take d3 mortal wounds. So it is kind of arcing through a few, and you can chip away a little bit more damage as well. The Doomsday Arc. The Doomsday Arc also gains +1 movement. It has gone up to movement 10. However, it has lost a leadership. It is now down to leadership 7+. But the gun has gone from strength 15 to strength 18. Yes! The Doomsday Cannon always should be like the biggest gun in the world. It's fantastic. So yeah, it's gone up to strength 18, rightly so in my opinion. It has still got blast, luckily. It's still got heavy, so you're still hitting on a 2+ if you stay still, and also if you stay still you are still getting devastating wounds from its overwhelming obliteration ability. So d6 +1 shot with blast, hitting on 3+, 2+ because of heavy, strength 18, -4 armor penetration and 4 damage. So devastating wounds, you're just going to be like rinsing things. It has paid a little bit for this with its points in the past. Please drop it a little bit. I think it was over 200 at the moment in the current Minotaurum field manual, so it doesn't need to be that high. Please drop it a little bit. It's the gun that Necron players love to hate, and hate to love as well, because I ran 3 of them in 8th edition in one of my lists that was really successful, and yeah, they were always really random, and now they're not really random, but they're just pointed out of oblivion, so we still can't really take them very often, which is a shame. Now, the Ghost Arc. Ghost Arc has, I believe it's also got the movement buff, so it's got move up to 10 inches as well. It's really, really useful. The Gauze Flare Array has, where are we going? There we go. The Gauze Flare Array is still strength 4 with no armor penetration, which is a shame, and the armored bulk, same as always. The Repair Barge is once per turn, just after an enemy unit finishes making its attack. If one or more friendly Necron Warrior unit is within 3 inches and lost 1 or more wounds, then you can select that unit and reanimation protocols activate. You can't do it twice, so reanimation protocols, and obviously if you're near a reanimator, it's going to be buffing that as well. So the Necron Warrior unit is going to be getting 2d3 re-rolling for that as well. So you will be able to Ghost Arc plus the strat plus reanimation in your command phase. you're still going to be potentially you're still going to be able to protect your warriors. The issue is now that you're not going to be able to kind of like push quite as many models back into the unit as you used to be able to at once. So if a unit just puts loads of damage on straight away, it's going to take a while to get back up again. Chip damage is never really a problem for Necron Warriors, but yeah. So the Ghost Arc, if you do want to run the Silver Tide, the Necron Warriors, I think you are definitely going to need a Ghost Arc just to kind of help with that reanimation now, the reanimation change. Now, the Doom Scythe and the Night Scythe have both had a change in terms of the Tesla Destructor. Like I was saying, the Tesla Destructor on these ones have now gone up to Strength 8 rather than Strength 7, which I think it was just must have just been a typo, because the twin Tesla Destructor on the Annihilation Barge was always Strength 8. So that's just been brought up to match, which is great. Now, the Obelisk. Right. Who likes Night Spinners? So, at the start of your opponent's movement phase, you can select one enemy unit within 18 inches and visible to this model. Until the end of the turn, halve the move characteristic of the models in that unit, halve the advance and charge rolls made for that unit, and in addition, if the unit has fly, until the start of your next movement phase, roll 1d6 each time that unit ends any type of move. On a 4+, they take D3 mortal wounds. That sounds like a really cool rule for a unit we really don't want to take very often. It has had its points dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped over and over again, so maybe it's going to get its points dropped again. I don't know how cheap the Obelisk has to be before we start taking one. I really don't know. But yeah, halving move and advance and charge and fly units taking D3 mortal wounds every time they do anything. Yeah, that could be quite cool. The Obelisk has lost a toughness, so it's down to toughness 13. But it has gained 2 wounds, so it's up to toughness. It's up to 24 wounds, and it has gained another movement as well, so it's up to 8-inch move. And then yeah, so the gravitic pulse is now very, very cool. I do have one. I mean, I have one of everything in the book, so I do have an Obelisk. I'm tempted to see what it's like if it ever got into the 200 point range, like 280. I can probably see that being interesting, like the Tesla Sphere having the anti-fly 4+. If the meta shifts and we end up seeing more fly things, like the Eldar, everything in the Eldar Codex has fly. So, but then generally Necrons don't particularly struggle against Eldar. I think they might have a little bit more of a problem now with the lack of reanimation that has kind of the little bit of a change in that. But yeah, maybe the Obelisk can start dropping in. It's objective control 8. It is huge, so it's not really going to be maneuverable. It does have deep strike, so you could bounce around with it in the hyperphase crypt. I don't know. It's certainly getting more interesting. It's certainly in the conversation, I think. Just at the end of the conversation. So in terms of output, it has 24 shots that have sustained hits 2. So every time you roll a 6, you're getting 2 additional hits. But it's only strength 7. It doesn't have any armor penetration. It's only damage 1. So you are clearing hordes 4 days and then stopping things that have fly. And I can't think of a unit which has lots of hordes and has fly everywhere. Now, because it has 4 Tesla spheres, you can split fire it. So you could do, like, if you were playing against Eldar, you could shoot 1 at 1 unit of warp spiders, 1 at a unit of fire dragons, 1 at a unit of howling banshees, 1 at a unit of swooping hawks, and then the anti-fly plus 4+ would kick in with some of those as well. I don't know, but yeah, it's had some changes. It's a little bit less tough, but it's got some more wounds. I think ultimately that's probably beneficial to it. Toughness 13 is still obscene, and then having 2 extra wounds is probably going to be cool. But we will see. Tesseract Vault. Now you can run a Tesseract Vault and 6 Katan, and that's an awful lot of output because the Tesseract Vault has had a change. The powers of the Katan powers themselves haven't changed, so you still have the Antimatter Meteor, which is d6 plus 3 shots at strength 10 minus 3 damage, which is just ridiculous. Cosmic Fire, which is 3d6 shots at strength 6 minus 2, 1 damage. It's auto hit torrent weapon. And then you have Time's Arrow, which is strength 3 minus 2, 6 damage, but it's precision, anti-character 4 plus devastating wounds. Yeah, you have those ones. However, the powers of the Katan, its ability in your shooting phase, when this model is selected to shoot, first select up to 2 different Katan powers. Until the end of the phase, this model is equipped with those weapons in addition to its other weapons. The model cannot make attacks with any other Katan powers you do select in this way this phase. So you can now fire twice. So you can fire 2 Katan powers and the 4 Tesla Spheres, so you still get the 24 shots with sustained hits 2 at strength 7. It's going to be a massive meme list, but if all the points work out, a Tesseract Vault and 6 Katan, I think is going to be in a list. I think that would work, and obviously you have a character. The Katan can be a warlord, can't it? So there's no problems there, and they can just be a character. Where are the Katan? Just quickly check that one. In my head they can. Model can't be a warlord, can't be a warlord, can't be a warlord. So you do need to get... Can't be a warlord, yeah. So you will have to just put in like a cheapest Technomancer, which is absolutely fine. There's not a problem with that. Just throwing a Technomancer to be your warlord just to finish off the list. Yeah, just to see. Be interesting to see whether that works. And the final one is the Monolith. The Monolith has also had a little bit of a change. It has dropped down from toughness 14 to toughness 13. Boo. However, it has also gained 2 wounds, so it's up to 22 wounds. Yay! And it's also gained movement as well, so it's now movement 8. Everything else is the same. The Eternity Gate, you can still, in the reinforcement step of your movement phase, you can select a Necron infantry unit from your army, and it can come out 6 inches, and it can't charge. However, in the hyperphase crypt, you can spend a command point, and then when they do use the Eternity Gate, they can come out and they can charge. So yeah, it's going to be really, really cool. You can drop that down. You can either put Scoret Destroyers coming out of it, you can have Leash Guard coming out of it, 6 inches away. Yeah, brilliant. Drop down a Monolith and come out 6 inches away. Charge a unit that's 3 inches away. Yeah, so there's going to be shenanigans there. I don't think it's going to be particularly powerful, but it's definitely going to be fun to play around with. A good player is just going to be able to kind of play around it, but it's going to be fun in some casual games and some narrative fun. So there we go. That is the final data sheet in the Codex. There is a convergence of Dominion as well, but that's had a little bit of a change, but nothing massive. You get a feel no pain 6+ for everything within 6 inches. Yeah, that's about it. All in all, I'm excited. All in all, I want to write lots of lists, and I want to figure out exactly what we're going to do with this. I think the first list I'm going to write is going to be a hyperphase crypt with just bouncing units. I'm going to try and find all the units that have got deep strike, try and get as many of those units as I can into the army and just kind of bounce them all the time. Like Deathmarks are just going to be so much fun. So they're going to be really, really helpful. Throw some Aidian Destroyers in there as well, so you can take the Deathmarks up, you can take the Aidian Destroyers up, you can drop them back down, you can score your secondaries, and then you just need a core as well that's going to be running around doing some scoring. The Canoptech Court, I think, is going to be very interesting. You can either, I think with the Canoptech Court, I think you can either lean into just run everything Canoptech, have Technomancers have Scarabs, Spiders, Wraiths, the Anachronthites as well from Forge World. I definitely think the Stalker, the Tomb, not the Triarch Stalker, the Centipede, the Tomb. I can't think what it's called. They're my favourite models. There's a Tomb Stalker and the other one. Anyway, the two Centipedes. I think you could run those two, or at least the cheaper one, the Tomb Stalker. He's got a big gun, stick a Gloom Prism on him as well, just for a little bit of defensive feel no pain. At the moment, his feel no pain is still a 4+. Ha ha ha. Against mortal wounds. I'm sure they will FAQ that very, very quickly. That's fine. And yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. The Awakened Dynasty is probably still going to be the favourite for most people. But yeah, for some shenanigans and some fun games, I think the Hyperphase Crypt is going to be a lot of fun. And the Annihilation Legion should be an interesting one. Like I say, I've said this before, and I've said this in the last video as well. I do like the way that Games Workshop are doing the detachments at the moment. They are really limiting down the options which are getting the bonuses. So there's nothing really that you're able to put a bonus or a stratagem on something which it wasn't intended to go on. So in the other video, I used the example of the Chaos Cultist back in the last edition, using the reroll hits and reroll wounds and just having a load of shots and getting wounds through. That's not happening in this edition at the moment, and I really like it. Having said that, there are some things here which I think could have just been tweaked a little bit more favourably. There seems to be just a few kind of win more stratagems and win more abilities rather than actual output abilities. In terms of win more, I mean this unit was going to kill that unit anyway, and like this flank, because I've got these two units over here, this flank was going to kill and destroy this unit anyway, or destroy those units over there anyway, and they don't need the extra bonus to do it. Yes, it's going to sway it a little bit harder into, so you could maybe say that flayed ones going into Terminators that are below half strength might be able to now do a few more wounds than they were going to, but flayed ones going into Terminators was never going to do anything anyway. So it's that kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely very, very cool. I'm so excited to write some lists. I do have some tournaments coming up, so I will get some lists written out. I might even do one on stream as well, so if you want to come and hang out on Twitch while I do that, then feel free. Takeaways from here: Katan, Transcendent Katana, run 2 of them. I'm guessing the points are going to go up a little bit because a 5+ feel no pain on those is going to be just crazy. I think a Technomancer and some Wraiths are going to be very, very interesting. Obviously, I do think the Hyperphase Crypt detachment is going to be very, very good. So unless you are competing for like a tournament win or anything like that, I think anywhere else, like mid-tables in a tournament, playing your friends, playing down at the game store, playing in your garage or anything like that, I think the Hyperphase Crypt is going to be very, very fun. And I don't think you need the monolith in there for it to be fun. I think you can look through the Codex now, pick out strong units and just run them as a bouncing up and down Hyperphase Crypt detachment. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and then obviously throw some Transcendent Katana in there as well, so that they can do the trans-dimensional displacement and just zoop around the battlefield like that. Yeah, it's going to be very cool. I am going to try and find another Transcendent Katana. I'll probably just buy another Tesseract Vault, to be honest, and build that one up as an obelisk. But yeah, we'll see. Right, thank you very much, everybody. Take care, and look out for my videos for the rest of the week. There's some more Necron videos coming, including a video where I convert up and repose the new Translocation Shroud Overlord, and I'm going to be looking at Imtech on stream as well this week. So tune in and come and say hey. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.